So, when I ask, what is Odoo? What comes to mind? Well, Odoo is a bit of everything. Odoo is a suite of business management software that some people say is like fertilizer because of the way it promotes growth. But some people also say Odoo is like a magic beanstalk because it grows with your company and is also magically affordable. But then again, you could look at Odoo in terms of how its individual software programs are a lot like building blocks. I mean, whatever your business needs. Manufacturing, accounting, HR programs, you can build a custom software suite that's perfect for your company. So, what is Odoo? Well, I guess Odoo is a bit of everything. Odoo is a fertilizer, magic beanstalk building blocks for business. Yeah, that's it. Which means that Odoo is exactly what every business needs. Learn more and sign up now at odoo.com. That's ODOO.com.
Have you ever wondered what a single idea could do for your life? Maybe it's something you've been looking for, or maybe it's something you didn't even know you needed. At Paper Napkin Wisdom, our newsletter delivers small, actionable ideas that lead to big results. Don't miss out. Sign up now at papernapkinwisdom.com.
Welcome to Paper Napkin Wisdom, where we share pearls of wisdom shared by some of the world's top entrepreneurs, leaders, and difference makers. Here's your host, Govind Jayaraman.
Hi, I'm Govind Jayaraman, and this is Paper Napkin Wisdom, episode 236. Today, I have a conversation that will challenge how you think about success, resilience, and what it truly means to lead with heart. What if everything you believed about winning in life, in leadership, in legacy was just the beginning of the story? And what if behind the glory there was a deeper game being played, one that most people never see? In today's episode, I sit down with none other than Mark Rypien, Super Bowl MVP, two-time NFL champion, and someone who has walked both the brightest lights and the darkest valleys. But what makes this conversation truly remarkable isn't just Mark's football resume. It's the raw honesty, deep wisdom, and the personal transformation that followed the final whistle. You're going to hear a powerful moment, a single paper napkin that holds a formula that might just redefine how you approach your own definition of success, and I wonder what it will unlock for you. As you listen, I want you to think, what have I prepared for? What opportunity might I be missing? And what does real success look like now? This one goes deep, so let's get into it. Here's my conversation with Mark Rypien. Mark Rypien, welcome to Paper Napkin Wisdom. I'm excited to have you here today.
Govind, thank you. It's a pleasure to be here and look forward to our little, fireside chat, you might say.
Yeah, absolutely. And listen, for people listening and not aware, Mark is, in my mind, and undisputably, the greatest Canadian NFL player, the only Canadian Super Bowl MVP, NFL, Super Bowl MVP from Canada. So there's a Canadian connection. You're from Calgary. I'm in Ottawa. So this is fun, extra fun.
Yes. Oh, Canada. Yeah. Definitely proud of my heritage, proud of my roots, proud of the our boys losing to USA in that 4-nation series and coming back and beating them when it mattered. So it was pretty cool. I thought that was also pretty neat for the NHL to have all their superstars play in a game like this or a tournament like this during the season. You know, usually you see it in the Olympics and guys put their NHL careers to the side and go play for their country in the Olympics, never mind to do it in a 4-nation series. And it was very popular. I think it showed the pride of Canada. You know, it's still the greatest hockey nation in the world. And Connor McJesus, or McDavid, I should say, is pretty special, as is Sid and all those guys who stood up for the Canadians and played so well amidst a pretty fun little event.
Well, we're going to get a little chat about this, but there is something about generational players, like generational talents, who elevate their games at certain times, right? You know, Gretzky did it. The knock on Mario was for years that Mario couldn't do it. And then when he played with Gretzky, there's that famous goal. He did it. And then Sid the Kid did it. And now Connor McDavid did it, right? I mean, there's a moment. You had your moment, and you did it. And I think that leads really well into our napkin today, which is success equals preparation plus opportunity. And the greats have a way of elevating, right?
Yeah, but you need all those things too. The opportunity, if it wasn't there, 2002, I was in Salt Lake City, and I watched the gold medal game with Mario and Joe Sakic. I thought was absolutely spectacular for Canada in that. And so I had firsthand view of what Olympic hockey was like and the amount of pride that those had. But there's an opportunity. That's an opportunity to play for your country for gold. And if your preparation coming up to that and the success that you have from lack of preparation isn't going to be there, but if you're prepared and you enhance that with an opportunity of a lifetime to play in a Super Bowl like I did, to be a part of a Super Bowl in 1987, 88, I think that was just as important, even though I prepared differently then for that Super Bowl because I wasn't the guy, but I had an opportunity there to learn, say what it was like. And so my success came from a lot of those venues where I just, kind of had an opportunity to look at things, do the things preparation wise. And from that 88 World Championship where we beat the Denver Broncos in San Diego, where Doug Williams is the MVP, to my chance to do it in 91, 92, the season that we had was so special, and put it to fruition with a culminating Super Bowl championship against the Buffalo Bills in Minneapolis.
Yeah. So I'm going to ask you, and we sort of get there a little bit later than we usually do, but I gave everybody the napkin, success equals preparation plus opportunity. At the top, you've got a hashtag HTTR, and I usually ask why you shared that with me, but we've already gotten into that. But why did you share that of all the wisdom that you have? I mean, you had such an incredible career, and you've been so vocal in football and in other circles ever since. Why was this the message today?
Well, I just think HTTR for me is I played in an era where we were the Redskins, and HTTR, Hail to the Redskins, was kind of the motto that we had. HTTC is now what happens because that's the era that we're in, Hail to the Commanders. But I can never say that because I didn't play for the Commanders. I played for the Washington Redskins, and we are proud to serve our team and our ownership and our community and also the indigenous and native people because they were proud of what we did, what we stood for. It's unfortunate what's happened that they've taken that away. I don't want to get into politics or anything like that, but if the native community would have said that would have been deterrent to them or that they were felt in some way, then by all means we should have done it. But it didn't have anything to do with that, and that's unfortunate. If they just invited 2 or 3 of the top Native American indigenous leaders to the table to decide the fate of the name, then I would have been fine. But I support the Commanders now because that's what they are. They're the Washington Commanders, and we're on a great path right now with the new ownership. Josh Harris and his crew have done an amazing job. And by the way, he's a hockey guy too. He owns the New Jersey Devils, and they're having a good year this year. And of course, his Philadelphia 76ers are not having as good a year in basketball. But we're so fortunate and blessed to have Josh and the Harris Group be a part of our franchise now, and the ownership, and Magic Johnson being there, Mitch Rales and Mark Hines, and the whole ownership group, along with Adam Peters and our coach Dan Quinn. We're on a great path. We have a great culture, and I think you look back on my paper napkin and what it fortunate enough to have an opportunity to play with a group of guys and an ownership group is Jack Kent Cook, who by the way is another Canadian, and also Joe Gibbs, the leader of that, and the amount of pride that we had playing for him and our community in Washington, D.C.
How, it's incredible to me, Mark, when you talk about all of the greats that you've worked with, played with, trained with, prepared with. It's interesting that you always mention leadership. You always mention ownership. You always talk about the pedigree that it takes, right? And there is something about winners that understand that preparation is the quiet, silent, there are no lights, there are no cameras.
Nope.
That's the hard part, right? And people who do that well everywhere. Like Harris does it well at the Devils. That team turned around under his ownership, and we're seeing similar things happen with his other involvements in other professional sports teams, right?
Well, there's no secret. I mean, he's got a formula, obviously, that works. I always look at it, too, I think, is Govind, and you look back on the bar was very high for when I got in there. You know, we had won 2 world championships in the 80s, and we'd lost another one we probably should have won. That may be the best Redskin team that we had. Was the one that we lost against the Oakland Raiders. So I think the bar was very high. You're held. There's accountability piece too that goes along with all of this. And when the bar's that high, you don't want to let your team down. You don't want to let your community down. You know, we also were the last of the dinosaurs too. When you think about it, there was no free agency. So there was no chance to move anywhere. You did things on and off the field together, your teammates, your community. You became entrenched in your community, whether it be philanthropy-wise or whatever. You became a part of Washington, D.C. in that what they call the DMV, the District, Maryland, and Virginia, that really enabled you, I think, to be successful. And I think that I always say the guys that paved the way for me were the guys that played before me. Those are the guys that paved the way. And I'm sure that you always hear, you know, in the hockey arena talk about the Guy Lafleurs and the Gordie Howes and the guys that kind of set the bar so high for the NHL guys. And I've had an opportunity over the years to be around some very successful players. Clark Gillies is a really close friend of mine, and I played in his charity golf event for years and continue to go back to Long Island and honor Clark and the Islanders and what they did in that magical 80s, you know, really kind of taking the bull by the horn and winning all those Stanley Cups in a row. And it's almost interesting to hear Wayne Gretzky talk about what it takes to be that next group that they were. And there's a great story, him walking into the New York Islanders locker room after they just beat them and won the Stanley Cup, thinking they'd be, you know, champagne and everything, this, that, and the other. He walks in there and these guys had ice bags on their knees and shoulders. And sure, they were excited and happy, but he says that's what it takes sometimes. And so, you know, it's a pretty cool story. And I like to hear stories, you know, from the past. But I always were very, very grateful for the guys who played before me and or the ones that paved the path for me. And as hopefully we did for our commanders now, that they're seeing the fruits of the labor of great ownership, great leadership, and a kid, Jaden Daniels, that really kind of caught all our attention and really is amazing, not only off the field, but incredible work ethic and absolutely incredible talent on the field.
Yeah. And you talked about, and I don't want to leave this, the bar was set very high. You know, teams, organizations, and I'm talking about companies and teams that accomplish great things have expectations, right? Have expectations of how we handle ourselves, have expectations of what our standards are. And that's what you're talking about when the bar was really high, right?
Absolutely. I mean, the Yankees are the Yankees for a reason. The Dodgers are the Dodgers for a reason. Baseball is what I think we all grew up with. I had baseball mitt in my hand when I was 3. But those franchises, essentially, and the Lakers in basketball, you know, and, you know, in all essence, in the last 20 years, the New England Patriots, you know, before then the Steelers and before then. So it was, you know, there's always been a high bar that, you know, people would be held accountable to. And so winning Super Bowls was the only thing in Washington, D.C. that mattered. You know, winning one playoff game and losing the NFC Championship game was a good season, but people in D.C. expected more. They wanted to go the whole way. And so I think that was great because each one in that locker room had the same feeling that we had a purpose. You know, we had, you know, our opportunities, and a chance to see where this was going to take us. And if it didn't end in a Lombardi trophy, it wasn't good enough for our people and us as players to go home and feel we accomplished what we wanted to.
Yeah, it's amazing. You know, the other thing that you sort of talk about, the opportunity, the good fortune, that part of it, that plays a role, but you have to struggle long enough. You have to do the work. You have to do the hard in the trenches long enough. And, if you do it long enough, the opportunity comes. But but a lot of people quit before that opportunity comes, right? And I'm sure you've seen that. I mean, there must have been a time when you were rehabbing that knee when maybe you got a little discouraged, didn't you?
Oh yeah, I mean that's human nature sometimes. I mean where you've done all this preparation. Whether you start in high school and college and you get there and now you're in the pros, but then there's self-doubt too because you're like, wow, you're watching the game. And I was fortunate because I didn't have to be thrown in there right out of college. Some of these guys are thrown in right from college and they want to win yesterday. These organizations, but I had an opportunity, chance to see Doug Williams play before me and watch Theismann, even though I didn't watch him play when I was there. I had a front row view of watching him play and his preparation and the type of pro that he was and my mentor. And so I really looked at that as a chance for me to grow. But there was also some doubt, like, wow, is this game faster than I think it is? And for me, I was like, it might be until I actually, use all that preparation for the opportunity that I had. And now Doug has an appendectomy and I'm thrust into the lineup. I won't know until that day. And I think they're really good ones. And I talked to a lot of the athletes, that played, especially quarterback, the ones that were able to be successful are the ones that were able to slow it down, because a lot of times what you want to do is you want to get so fast paced that you want to get that 5-step drop and throw the ball. Well, your receiver might not be coming out of his route. So you have to be able to slow the game down enough to know that the timing and all those things, the preparation things you practiced during the week and during the off season and all of the intangible things that come to that game in itself. If you start speeding it up mentally and physically, you're not going to be able to get it done. You're not going to be able to be successful. So I've learned that when I was a little bit nervous to get my first start in the NFL and then to get actually out there and play and say, wow, this it's hard, but don't get me wrong. It's not as hard. And I need to kind of process it, slow it down a little bit, do the things that I was taught to do and go out and make plays. And so that helped a lot.
Yeah, I think there's a powerful leadership lesson in that, right? That as leaders, we need to slow things down. We need to prepare for the moment that's going to be high impact. It's going to come faster than you think it's going to, but you have to make sure you have to slow that play down to see what's happening around you. And that only comes with preparation and practice. That only comes with working with your teammates before you're in the big game, right? I mean, you
100%.
didn't get into the Super Bowl and throw your first throw, right?
Yeah, 100%. I tell you, the first two passes of the Super Bowl, I got hit in the ribs, and I'm asking my guys, who I think I had 7 sacks that year, what the heck's going on? And they were reassuring, said, Mark, don't worry. We're going to wear them down. Their adrenaline is so high right now, that we're in the Metrodome. They're as high as this Metrodome right now, their energy level, but we're going to slow them down and take the will out of them, which was great for me to hear that. But it was also awesome to know that, yeah, okay, good. Then I can relax because I was a little bit nervous. Actually, I cracked a rib on the second throw I made.
On the second throw?
Yeah, second throw of the game. And yeah, I didn't know it, but I played in the Pro Bowl, went and got an x-rayed in the Pro Bowl. And that's when we actually had a Pro Bowl game in Hawaii. And they took an x-ray and saw that I had 2 cracked ribs. And I ended up playing in the Pro Bowl because of the adrenaline. And also you're there, you might as well do it, And so it was great. But, you're still going to make mistakes. Don't get me wrong. And the great thing about, knowing that the mistakes that I made when I was younger is that I didn't make the same mistake twice. I did some things that were, like, okay, the coach is going, all right, you need to stop that. Well, yeah, you don't do it again. And then if you don't do that, the coach sees that you're growing and that you're, getting into where they would like you to be. And then lo and behold, here you are in 1991, 92, you put it all together and it equals one of the greatest Super Bowls of all time. When you look at what we did during the season, the playoffs and everything else, from a statistical standpoint, we are considered maybe the greatest Super Bowl team in the history of the NFL because of the stats and how we beat teams and how we went about our business and how we did it.
Well, I mean, up here it played pretty big because of you, right? I mean, and this. So this is the other thing that I think is really interesting about quarterback, which is different than a lot of other sports where, in hockey, it's a flow game where you can have a McDavid, and McDavid certainly plays with the puck on a stick a lot and at a pace that's on fast forward compared to everybody else. However, the quarterback has a very special role in the game of football. But what's really neat, and I know this because I've had more than one conversation with you, but you always, I don't think you see yourself as bigger or better or more important than everybody else. You really believe in the team. Like it's not just lip service, right?
No, well, I mean, you're only as good as the guys up front, first and foremost. So you take that group of guys out of there.
Especially the guy on your blind side.
Yeah. I mean, we saw what Patrick Mahomes had to go through in the Super Bowl when he's as great as there is amidst pressure and chaos. But when the pressure and chaos is controlled and they're keeping him in the pocket and putting pressure, even Patrick Mahomes, who I think is one of the all-time greats and will be considered one of the all-time greats when he's done, had and struggled. And you could just see that I don't care. But if you buy into a system, you're doing what you're supposed to do, and you're doing it at a level you're supposed to do it at. You can play for a lot of years. And I started 5-6 years and played 13 years total. But I was so blessed and fortunate, and to come out of the game and to be amidst a group that I think was the greatest era of football for the Redskins anyway, Commanders now, in our history. Because in that stretch from 82 to 92, we went to 4 Super Bowls and won 3 of them. And you can never take that away from us. And and you can never take the fact that I'm the first Canadian-born Super Bowl. I'm proud to be a Canadian and will always proud to represent my fellow Canadians as yourself, Govind, and all my relatives, mostly on the western side in Alberta and British Columbia. And just an honor to have done that in the arena that I was able to do it in.
Yeah. No, it's so true. Talk to me about, I know that you took leadership really seriously. You have then, you do now with all the work that you do. In the preparation piece, how important is it for the leader, for the quarterback, for the top dog on the team to notice and celebrate the accomplishments of everyone else? Like, what does it do to a team? Because you guys were a tight unit, and I believe that you had a lot to do with that. Like your style had a lot to do with that. The story up here was your Canadianness. Just, you were so nice to everybody and kind to everybody that it made it.
I think that's I think that's what you said is great, because a lot of the times that guys did appreciate my own teammates and my community appreciated me more because I never deflected the blame. I was the first to say, hey, I got to get better. Hey, I have to do something. It wasn't like so-and-so did this and so-and-so did that. That was Joe Gibbs to say, hey, we got to do this better. We got to do that better. I personally went out and said, I messed up. I've got to take care of the football. I got to take care of the football better. I got to make decisions better, and I got to lead this team in a way. And so you do that. Your guys, even though maybe some of them felt that they probably didn't do this or did do that, they see their quarterback telling the media and everyone else that they didn't do what he didn't do what he's supposed to do. So it deflected away from them and their errors or whatever to, hey, this guy's got our back. And I think it only wasn't just me, because I think all guys on our team were held accountable, and they all, if any of them said, hey, they got to do better. And we had receivers that were, Gary Clark was one of the most vocal ones ever about, hey, he didn't do this and he didn't do that himself. And so I think we all kind of adopted a little philosophy that take care of your own business and, come on publicly if you have to say that you need to do better, do better. And so I think that was the reason why we, and I think guys appreciated me and I appreciated them, is because there's no one, said put anyone under the bus or, and said that, that they're bigger than the whole in itself. So. Yeah,
that's amazing. I wonder about, in your preparation, what did your pre-game, I think that pre-game is some people are superstitious about it. Look, the Canadian hockey player in you is still probably a little superstitious about. You were a three-sport athlete in college. You picked football, so I know that preparation was important. But I wonder about your mindset pre-game. What did you do to prepare yourself?
I think here's one of the things that I would have to say that everyone on our football team would tell us: we were prepared by our coaching staff. They gave us a game plan, and we implement the game plan. We're able to do what we're supposed to do. During that, each individual player had to understand their role in what we were doing. You had to watch film. You had to understand the tendencies. We were given a chart, each or a game plan each and every week is about, 8 to 10 pages about, how fast was their left corner? How fast was their right corner? What did Deion Sanders like to do? Deion Sanders loved to jump routes. We need to double move him. There's certain things that you knew going in that were going to be beneficial to you and gave you an upper hand. And then in knowing that third down 2 to 6, they were 90% man-to-man, but only 20% blitz. So they played man-to-man, and they had a safety high or a too deep look, but you knew you had man-to-man. And so you had routes that you knew if you were man-to-man, you could go to the guy that, you felt would be win. Or if they rolled one way or rolled the other way, which is coverage for the defensive backs, if they rolled the corner on one side, put a safety over the top and brought the safety in the middle and had the other side, what we call the cover 9, then you would work maybe the one-on-one to the other side of the field versus your X receiver who was being doubled by the safety and the corner. So there's a lot of tendencies that you had to have and understand what the tendencies of the defense were in order to be prepared in all those situations. 1st and 10, 2nd and long, 2nd and short, 3rd and long, 3rd and short, goal line, red zone, all the different scenarios that happen during the course of a game, and practice those during practice and understand that, hey, a lot of times it's just practice is just kind of a dress rehearsal for the game. And then you go out in the game and, oh my goodness, they are in this coverage. Oh my goodness, they are doing this. Oh my goodness. Wow. I just got to make a throw. And sometimes that doesn't work either. Yeah. You might be in the perfect scenario. You might overthrow a guy. I mean, there are times my college coach said, Mark, you could probably be one of the guys that could overthrow Noriega. Hello?
Yeah, I'm here. Yep.
Oh, yep.
We're good. We're good.
Sorry, my daughter called on the phone. Oh, we're back. Good.
Yeah, we're good.
My coach goes, Mark, the thing about you is when you're hot, you're hot. But the other times, I think you could probably be the only guy that could overthrow Noriega, who's at that time was in South America was a dictator. So I thought that was kind of funny. And I mean, so you physically still had to do things, even though you might know exactly where you have to go with the football, and you still physically got to make the throw to make the place to be successful.
Talk about this idea. I love all of that because you're moving to execution, and this is a question that I had about your napkin, right? Preparation.
Yep.
How do you? I know you've heard Federer came out recently, and he said, on his retirement, I made 52% of the points that I played. 52. People think it's a lot higher, but it's 52, And he talked about recovery. And then right after that, not long after that, Djokovic was on 60 Minutes, and he was talking about the gift of his mindset. The question was, you're gifted with a great mindset. And he cut the guy off right in the middle of the sentence, says, it's not a gift. Mindset's not a gift. I recover really fast. I work at it. It's hard. And that's the number one thing. So this is the same thing. You got cracked ribs, you got hit on your second pass, but you recovered. How important is it? And what do you do? What are you thinking about when you switch gears? When something bad happens, you get that out of your mind and replace it with fresh thoughts so you can focus on the task at hand. Bring your preparation to the moment. How do you do that?
Well, I think one, it's I talked before I even got a football in my hand to play my first game about self-doubt. And then it's just a matter of, okay, I can do this, and believing in yourself has got so much merit to it that you can't measure that,
Mm-hmm.
The belief that an individual has in itself. I think you touched on Federer and I can even go as far as to Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan,
Yes.
You know how many shots I missed in my lifetime? Did it keep me from shooting the basketball? Heck no. You still got to go back in there. You still got guys counting on you to make it work. So I think there's just something that you say, I believe in myself. That's it. I'm simply, I know what I have to do. Sure, I made a mistake. I'm not going to do it again, because if I do, I'm not going to be able to play. They're not going to have me in there much longer if I continue to do what I'm doing. So I believed in myself more so than anything. And no one could take that away from me. No one could take that away from Djokovic or Federer or LeBron or Michael or, anyone that's playing at a high level. they believe so wholeheartedly in themselves that nothing is going to get in their way. There's not going to be a divide that's going to say, oh gosh, I don't know. No, it's always, I can, absolutely I can, and I will. So,
and that I can feeling, that I can philosophy, that I can self-belief that comes out of preparation, comes out of work. That's something that people can tell, right? Like I've heard stories about when Jaden walked into the room at the beginning of camp, there was just something different about the kid, right? That he had it in his mind. You could feel the confidence that he had. Am I wrong about that?
No, not at all. And I think he took the old saying bull by the horn, and said, this is my team. And I think there's probably some, you look back at my years of 4 or 5 years coming up to play and winning that Super Bowl 91, 92. I had some great seasons. I split some time with Doug, and him and I were kind of quarterback A, quarterback B, quarterback 1, quarterback 2. We did some wonderful things. One year, him and I both had over 2,000 yards each of us passing, and we had 3 receivers with over 1,000 yards, the first ever in the history of the NFL. Clark, Monk, and Sanders all had 1,000 yards receiving. So we didn't make the playoffs that year. So that tells you something right there, So there's a method to what Joe Gibbs did and what he had. But I also think there's like Matt Millen said, he says, gosh, Mark, not that I didn't see it in you, but that look you had in your eye in 91, 92, that your assertion, and in the locker room and the huddle, on the practice field and the meetings, we had a lot of player only meetings, before games. Not that we needed them that 91, 92 season, but we did have to have one after the Cowboys beat us. And we thought we were a little bit better than we were. And so they kind of put a little, and we also knew they were going to be good too. They were on the verge of being pretty doggone good. So they beat us by 3 at home. We kind of had to reset and get back on track. But we had player only meetings. I thought those were great, even though our coaching staff was absolutely amazing. And Joe Gibbs is a Hall of Fame guy that he is, just because of who he is and how he went about doing it. I've never ever seen a guy in my whole entire mind get so mad at a halftime of a game against the Philadelphia Eagles and white orange slices and Gatorade, knock it all off the table and never swear once. Holy gosh, golly geez, son of a gun, you guys got to play football. But you could see the venom in his eyes, and almost guys didn't know whether to laugh or to like, oh my goodness, he's ticked. He's a little ticked off. So when that happens, you know that this coach is just as much invested in this as we do as players, if not more so. And they're all dedicated to try to make us better. And I think that's why he was one of the greatest.
Yeah. And that I just love that sense of I can and that confidence. And yeah, it's a really good point that sometimes you can have these great personal years. You talked about the two of you putting up 2,000 yards each and 3 receivers with 1,000 yards each, but it didn't win. Right. And then, and that's the ultimate. I mean, the goal is to win. It doesn't matter. All the personal awards don't mean a thing if you don't win. Yep. Right.
Absolutely. Formula. There's a formula for that. And when you're throwing the ball that much, that means you're behind quite a bit. And that means you're trying to get yourself out of a hole that you shouldn't have been in the first place. So that was pretty unique and pretty spot on too on your part.
So one of the things that I think is really neat, so opportunity, so we talked about the preparation and how a leader or how an athlete, a quarterback, and how you prepared. Is everything an opportunity, or are there some times when it's just coming together? Like, is there a difference?
Well, the opportunity first comes with, hey, something's got to happen for you to be in that limelight, and then so that opportunity arises, and your preparation is either, I think I've said it before, you're either going to get it done or someone else will. So you have to meet it, and then success equals the two of those things together. But first you have to have that opportunity. And just being in Washington, D.C., if you're going to be the starting quarterback for the Washington Redskins during that era, there's opportunity because we were successful. We were good. We had the tools to be good. So now it's just a matter of getting out there and doing what you can do in order to take this team to where it needs to go. So but then again, you go back to the struggles maybe that you might have, and another opportunity arises the following week. You're throwing an interception. You have an opportunity to go back in there the next series and make something of it. So it's not like you have a bad shift and you have an opportunity, a chance to score a goal. You miss it, and they come down there. Goalie makes a save. You're on you're in the bench, and you think, gosh, I got to make this happen. That happens really quick in hockey. You're right back out there. Football, it's like, okay, well, they maybe have a 10-play drive, and you get a chance to say, all right, you're going to sit there and stew over this interception or the fumble, and now you got to get back out there. It's maybe 5 minutes later. Well, you still got a chance and an opportunity to make amends to what you didn't do before. So there's opportunities within opportunities in sport and in football, especially to better yourself and also help your team.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love this. I love that success is the quotient, right? It's the outcome of preparation and opportunity. And you have 2 Super Bowls, right? From experiencing that. So you know something about that. But you also talked about the best team you had was probably one that didn't win, right? So,
well, not my best team. The best
Redskins team. Yeah,
Redskin team ever was the team that had plus 51 or plus or minus. Plus, they have plus minus. Like in hockey.
Yeah,
they have plus 51 or something like that turnover margin, where we got 51 more turnovers than we did turn the ball over. So that season was incredible. And they went to the Super Bowl against the Raiders, and it was the turnover that Theismann threw even Joe Gibbs probably says that maybe it was one of his worst calls at the 3-yard line. They throw a screen pass, and Square jumps the screen pass, catches it, and scores a touchdown just before halftime. And they lose a game technically that they were probably better than the Raiders, but that doesn't mean a doggone thing when it comes to Super Bowls, because the Bills were favorites and probably should have beat us, or you had a team to beat us in 91, 92 because of the being there the year before and losing to Scott Norwood, missed field goal wide left, and then coming in there the second year, third year, fourth year. I mean, they were good, really, really good, but they weren't good when it mattered the most, and that's unfortunate, right? Because they had some of the greatest pros and players possible.
Yeah. So, I mean, success doesn't come to everybody who shows up. It comes in a special moment. Mark, I know that we could go on for a long time. This was such a great conversation. I want to say thank you. And there is something that we're doing at the end of every episode right now, where we're honoring the late, great John Rulin, who was a friend of the Paper Napkin Wisdom, but way back when we started. He gave me a napkin that said, "What you appreciate appreciates." So we end every conversation with a little bit of gratitude. So I'm saying thank you to you, but is there anybody that you'd like to shout out and give some gratitude or appreciation to before we close?
I'm always grateful for my family and friends. I'm grateful for my sweetheart, Heidi, who's, not only brilliant, but comes with a wonderful sense of humor, loves golf. I'm very grateful for that. I'm also grateful for my community here. I mean, you go through, you talk about opportunity and preparation. No one prepares for the death of their child. And so when my son Andrew died in 1998 of a brain tumor, you look at that and you say, well, what can I do? Where can I go and how can I help someone? And so you turn that into something positive to honor Andrew and honor all the kids and families of children going through cancer. And so I started a foundation. And so I'm grateful for our community for helping those kids and their families get through their circumstances and what treatment that they're going through, because we knew what we went through was very difficult, but we had great nurses and doctors and all our care people in this country that are taking care of others. Just so grateful for them too.
Yeah, that's amazing. And we're going to put a link into the show notes to the foundation as well.
Yes, Mark. It's called the Community Cancer Fund now, and CCF in Spokane, and do wonderful work. We joined with my good friend Mark Rypien, who ran the Coaches versus Cancer here. Mark is one of the great, but speaking of a guy who's had some Canadian come through, Nembard is playing now, Rob Sockery played. And, so we've had a lot of great Canadians come through Gonzaga and play basketball here. Mark's been an icon in Spokane. And so he kind of ran the Coaches versus Cancer here, but saw that the dollars weren't staying here locally in Spokane. So we started the Community Cancer Fund for the kind of the adult arm of cancer, and we're the pediatric arm. So we joined forces with Mark and our community and formed the Community Cancer Fund, and now we do our work through them, and it's amazing group. So if you could plug the Community Cancer Fund in Spokane, that'd be great.
We will for sure. Thanks so much, Mark.
Thank you, Bowen. Cheers.
Cheers. Wow. Thanks, Mark. That was a powerful one. It was powerful not only for his incredible achievements on the field, but the courage he's shown off of it. Mark reminded us that even champions carry invisible battles, and that true leadership begins when we're willing to be seen, fully and without filters. Success isn't about luck. It's about preparation meeting opportunity. Mental fitness is just as vital as physical fitness. Vulnerability isn't weakness. It's how we lead and connect. Serving others turns pain into purpose. And champions don't avoid darkness. They keep walking through it. So let me ask you, what's your napkin moment? What's the opportunity in front of you, and how are you preparing for it right now? I want you to do something different. It's a challenge. Grab a napkin. Write down the thought that resonated most with you from this episode and share it on social media or with a friend using the hashtag Paper Napkin Wisdom. You never know who needs to hear what you just heard and experienced. And if this conversation moved you, share it. Subscribe on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or YouTube. Leave a review. Tag a friend who needs this message today. You have no idea the impact your ripple can make. Until next time, remember, small ideas sketched on napkins can create massive change when combined with intentional action. And you've just heard the kind of wisdom that doesn't just inspire, it transforms. Make it a great day.
You know when you're really stressed or not feeling so great about your life or about yourself? Talking to someone who understands can really help. But who is that person? How do you find them? Where do you even start? Talkspace. Talkspace makes it easy to get the support you need. With Talkspace, you can go online, answer a few questions about your preferences, and be matched with a therapist. And because you'll meet your therapist online, you don't have to take time off work or arrange childcare. You'll meet on your schedule, wherever you feel most at ease. If you're depressed, stressed, struggling with a relationship, or if you want some counseling for you and your partner, or just need a little extra one-on-one support, Talkspace is here for you. Plus, Talkspace works with most major insurers, and most insured members have a $0 copay. No insurance? No problem. Now get $80 off of your first month with promo code SPACE80 when you go to Talkspace.com. Match with a licensed therapist today at Talkspace.com. Save $80 with code SPACE80 at Talkspace.com.
The way we work is changing every day, thanks in large part to the internet. So if you're an online creator, what can you do to create a sustainable future for yourself? On Attach Your Resume, creators share how their jobs work, especially during times like these where big changes are happening in the online world. Listen to interviews with internet reporter Taylor Lorenz, CEO of Patreon Jack Conte, representatives from Defector, Aftermath, and more. Whether you're an online creator yourself or curious about what's going on in the online Wild West, search Attach Your Resume wherever you listen to your podcasts.